Right, so first impressions are fantastic. The difference in the standard liner. So this is it's only the M12 basic. So I wasn't expecting anything stellar, but the difference in just in the level of support from putting this one on to the RL2 is crazy. It's to describe it, it's just, you just feel like every part of your foot is being held in place quite firmly, but in a really in a supportive, comfortable manner. Where here, it just feels soft around your foot, but the overriding feeling is just soft. And it is so much more structure to these. And it's just so much more care and attention obviously has gone into it. So I don't know if you can see here, but the first, if you start at the front, for example, like the stitching is so much better. Just more, there's so many more layers of stitching. You've got more toe support, it's more rigid. Can you see that this is kind of collapsing? And I've only used them say 5 or 6 times. As you go above, you can see there's ventilation. You've got no end ventilation. They just hold their structure better. Nice tongue support at the very lowest part. That's nicely secured. Similar in that, but you can just see more. There's more attention to detail has gone in there. In terms of the cut and the stitching. And what I noticed when I just put both of them on for the first, this one on for the first time, is how deep into your foot the tongue actually starts, where it's right on the end in the basic. There's a fair amount of distance from the front from toe to the beginning of the tongue. And so I love the lace up. I like that they hold their form even without tying them up. I didn't notice the feeling here, but if you look how different the difference in the height of the back as well, that's pretty sizable difference. What I have noticed straight away is that it seems that there's a ridge here and a lot more. It's so firm in this area of the liner. Really, loads of layers of I don't know how to put it, padding and structure. If I squeeze it here and squeeze it there, it's noticeable difference in thickness and rigidity. Whereas on the standard one, I'm getting a tiny little hot point kind of in this region here, and inside that kind of coincides with a fall off from just this material here, and then there's some extra padding in this one, but the placement of those is a little different, and the boundary is different. I don't know if you can see. Really rubbish day here today, so there's really poor light, but I'm kind of getting a hot point around here, and there's an abrupt edge on the basic, where it just goes from having less padding within here and then just to being this, just the outer skin. Whereas here, I can still feel that the bit in front is still padded, and here it's so much thicker, so much firmer than the basic. Next thing, obviously it's got a fastening system. It's got the kind of the elastic here to keep its shape. So the basic really is just that, isn't it? There's it's just a very, very thin piece of naff. What's that? Polystyrene foam, kind of, yeah. And then you just got the bottom of the boot. There is some ventilation, but there's they're not terrible, but the comparison is quite stark. Having said that, these were more expensive. I paid nearly double the liner than the actual basic shell. So yeah, these are an investment. They are a premium product, and they definitely feel that. So let me have a look, see if I can do this with one hand. Right, compare the footbed. Here we go. Okay, so it's a lot more rigid to begin with. Slightly taller, more cupping. Shock absorber built into the back, and it's kind of this two-piece more structure the further you get back in your foot. I don't know if you can see, this is ridiculously, it's kind of, it just feels flimsy, you know. It's bending, it's on itself, and here you can see the crease point, whereas this is, you know, just a lot better made. And you know, if I squeeze my fingers together here, I can really feel the finger, whereas here I can't. It's so thick, so firm here that I can't feel where my finger is underneath, if that makes any sense. So, you know, all round so far, it really is impressive. It's interesting that the actual lacing system goes around the back. That's really interesting. I like that. Another way where they must feel, you know, so snug is the fact that they've got a lacing system, and they've got this. This is kind of really tacky to, you know, it's got a really tacky to touch. It feels like you're going to get a load of grip from this edge and this really nicely made seam on the back that I imagine is to stop any movement and rubbing of the liner within the skate, so you get, you know, just more responsive. So that's really nice. That feels really well made. Whereas you compare it to the basic, none of that whatsoever. So let me put them in and get back to you. Right, so I've put them in. First thing to notice when putting them in versus the basic was that it was actually it's more of a wrestle to get them in, and the reason being is that this here offers so much grip, that actually, and they're so more rigid that actually getting them in was, you know, it's just much more force is needed to get them in comparison to the basics. So I have modified these basics in that I've done the low cuff mod on them, and you can see just, I think that it transforms the look of the skate really. I think it looks pretty sick. So in terms of height, if you can see there, standard basic liner on the right compared to the RL2, and it kind of you can see that it kind of is more substantial. There's more liner here. It pads out this area actually, so it kind of makes the whole skate look more compact, and kind of fatter. And I've kind of gone for a kind of hockey look on these, and I think it ties in quite well. So next step is to I'm going to put both liners in and just try them without heat molding them, just to kind of see if there's any hot spots and see how they feel. And, you know, the first thing will be to feel down here where I was getting a slight hot spot with the basic liners. And then I'll heat mold them and take them for a whirl this evening. But Niels Janssen did a really good heat molding video on the RL1s, so I don't really think I need to talk through the process of doing so. But yes, so far absolutely delighted. They feel really good.